It's Kaufman is Alive. I look at comic books new and old. Today I'm looking at a new comic book, X-Men issue number 22, Legacy number 322. It says The Dawn of the Age of Revelation here on the cover, and Ryan Stegman is the artist here on this cover. I do like this. We got Cyclops and Doug Ramsey, Cypher, half and half here, with Cypher on Apocalypse's side here, and we got Cyclops on Professor X's side. So we get kind of the two opposing viewpoints of the X-Men at odds here on the cover, which is pretty much exactly what goes on all throughout this issue here. Just the X-Men kind of at odds. I've got the X-Men Age of Revelation books here as well. Amazing X-Men number 1, X-Men Age of Revelation Overture number 1. And I'm not going to get into these today, but I did want to have them out just for reference, since this X-Men issue 22 leads right into the Age of Revelation. And just last night at the New York Comic Con, Marvel announced the upcoming X-Men issues that are coming out in 2026 post Age of Revelation. So I thought that was interesting. I wanted to talk about those a little bit as well today. It's called The Shadows of Tomorrow, and it seems to be just a continuation of this X-Men line. They're not rebooting any of the comics back to number 1. They are ending a bunch of the series. They're starting some new series, but this X-Men series here that I've been reading, which I think has been the best X-Men series out of the whole line. I have enjoyed Uncanny X-Men as well. And but I just feel like this has been the best book, so I'm glad they're continuing it. I was kind of hoping that after the Age of Revelation, since this is all dealing with like time travel, 10 years into the future and stuff, that they might revert these X-Men comics back to the legacy numbering, which is something I would be a fan of because I'm an old head and I always get sick of them rebooting the lines back to number 1. I just wish they'd stick with legacy numbering. I think that, you know, having a run that has a very high number, to me, shows that it's a good book. And every time you got to keep rebooting it back to number 1 tells me that you just got to keep using the number 1 gimmicks to try and sell the book, because the writing or the artwork, the character work isn't selling the book itself. So that's just my opinion. And X-Men has started to they took at least Venom back to its legacy numbering with issue 250, and they're continuing it on 251, 252, and so forth. So I would like to see that kind of stuff happen more at Marvel. If they could take Avengers, Fantastic Four, Thor, Hulk, X-Men, Daredevil, Amazing Spider-Man, Uncanny X-Men, I'd like to see all those books go back to their legacy numbers. Although at this point it is kind of silly to call, you know, the 10th rebooted Captain America book and say it kind of has any continuation to those original, from like Captain America issue 100 on. Like, that's some continuity that still exists. I mean, that's kind of silly, I suppose, but in my mind, I like to think that it all connects. So, in that it's not just, ridiculous fan fiction at this point. But if it's being published by Marvel, if it's in the main line, I consider that continuity. I'm a stickler for continuity. Maybe I shouldn't be at this point, but I do like that this Shadows of Tomorrow X-Men line does look like it is continuing with all these storylines. They're not just doing like any sort of hard reset, and they're continuing the numbering. So I think issue 23 or 24 will be the one that follows this From the Ashes X-Men and the Age of Revelation. So, and Shadows of Tomorrow, kind of an oxymoron. I don't really know what it means. Looks like they're kind of doing some throwback things and probably some new things all at the same time. So it didn't look all too interesting to me, but we'll see how it goes. I probably will keep reading the main X-Men book as long as they're printing one. So, But like I said, in this issue, getting back to this issue 22, this is kind of the last issue of this creative team, which Jed MacKay, Ryan Stegman, and they've also had Nitho Diaz doing a bunch of these issues as well, and I've really liked the creative team. But on this issue, we got CF Villa doing the artwork, kind of filling in this final chapter of this from the Ashes X-Men team. And I like his work in here. It's not anything too stand out, but it's pretty solid work. He's drawing all the characters pretty much how Stegman was drawing them. So I like that. There's this like kind of cool Zipatone-esque like shading throughout here as well. I don't know if you can see it in the video here, but I kind of like it. It's not on every page, but like on this page, you can see when there's characters in the shadows, they use this dotted kind of shadow here throughout the pages here. I do really like that. Like here on the walls here, it's all just dotted shadows in the background. It gives it kind of its own look and feel, which I do like a lot. Cyclops is getting out of jail here. He's been in jail the past few issues. And the sheriff here in Alaska, where they've made their base, is being really nice to Cyclops and says that he just had to play a role and she had to treat Cyclops and Lindquist from the One organization as equal to any other citizen. So he had to stay behind bars for a few days after their fight that was out in public. And Magik shows up and Cyclops is like, "You could have broken me out at any time. How could you?" And she says, "Well, you know," and he's like, "What were you up to, Magik?" And then we see Fitzroy, who's behind bars, and, you know, he's kind of mocking the X-Men, saying, you know, "Jailers of fellow mutants, oh, how the mighty have fallen." And then he makes some good points here. He says, "You love to talk about what hard case mutant menaces you Alaskan X-Men all are, but what I see is a bunch of cowards hiding away from the world in a place that no one else wanted." So Psylocke leaves and Temper comes after her asking, do you think he can be rehabilitated? And she's saying she's killed as many people as Fitzroy has. And Temper's saying, so what are we going to do with him? And she says, look, Fitzroy isn't our prisoner. He's the payment we owe for services rendered. Owe to who? And then she goes off on this storyline from years ago that I don't even remember or off the top of my head or anything, but she says, years ago, Trevor Fitzroy murdered Marie Ange Colbert, a crime that Christopher Aronson has been very interested in repaying. Aronson is King Bedlam, and in giving him Fitzroy, we ensure the loyalty of Bedlam and his Hellions. So she's got plans of her own with Trevor Fitzroy here. And probably Cyclops doesn't even realize what's going on with Fitzroy at this point. But it is interesting in this X-Men Age of Revelation, a little spoiler here. So if you don't want spoilers, skip ahead a minute or two. But at the end of the book here, we see the reveal that Magik, Juggernaut, and Psylocke are all working together against Cyclops' X-Men team here 10 years in the future in the Age of Revelation. We see Glob there, Schwarzschild from 3K's X-Men. And what a weird costume he had. I don't understand. What is a Schwarzschild? He's got like a Superman symbol with an X on it. He's got like this Violator like tusks in the background on his back here. He's got like a Mortal Kombat portal. He's just such a mashup of all these character designs. And I like, what is a Schwarzschild? What does that mean? Someone please explain it to me. But I do kind of like him nonetheless. I really like Cyclops' look here too. But anyway, so I like that in this book here, issue 22, they're clearly setting this all up because we've got Magik, Juggernaut, and Psylocke all kind of at odds with everything that is going on with Cyclops' X-Men here. Beast's questioning Juggernaut about him when he killed Ocelot in the previous issue. He just ripped his head off and murdered him right in front of their newest X-Men, Bird Girl, whose real name is Jennifer Starkey, and which Beast brings up here. And Beast has got a relationship with her. And then Juggernaut's questioning Beast here. So lots of tension all throughout this book between all the members of the X-Men. And Beast is saying, yeah, you tore Ocelot's head off. And Kane is saying, yeah, I did, and I'll do it again. Beast says we're not a death squad, but Juggernaut says, did Charles teach you that X-Men don't kill people? Maybe he should have been honest with you all. Mutants are at war, and in a war, people die. Beast says, if he had, it's highly unlikely that you of all people would still be alive, Juggernaut. And then he says, God, when did we all get comfortable with killing people? Kind of a whole commentary on where X-Men have been going lately. So I like that there is all, storylines, ramifications happening from this book that are clearly going to be felt in the Age of Revelation. It's not just some sort of hard reboot or anything like that. It's actually a continuation of all these storylines that are going on. So then we see the two newest X-Men also talking about what's going on with them. They've got different kind of feelings about what's going on within the X-Men. And this Bird Girl here, Jen, she's saying that when she changes into like her predator forms, she can understand the instincts that have to do with killing and dying. She says they seem like the most natural things in the world. And then Cyclops and Magic just come in through a portal right there. They're like in conversation. He's not happy that she went after the upstarts with the team that she had. So again, lots of tension here. Cyclops just wants them to all kind of reboot and get back together. He says they've been scattered for too long here. We've got to recenter, he says. But then right then, Glob lets him know that they've got some visitors. And we see Cypher show up here, along with Bay and Warlock. And we knew they were headed here towards their base in Alaska from a couple issues back. And obviously, since they've already dropped these Age of Revelation issues, we knew what was going to be happening here. We just hadn't seen it yet. So this is the big moment, finally, that it's all been leading to, with Doug Ramsey showing up, really giving me Light Yagami vibes here. He's even got like a Shinigami behind him, too, actually. But creep factor with Cypher here. But Cyclops is kind of questioning him. He's like, am I talking to Doug Ramsey or to the heir of Apocalypse? So they're worried about who they're talking to, since they know that he's now been become the heir of Apocalypse. They're wondering whose side is he really on here. So Bay, she was about to attack Cyclops, but Doug just holds her off here. He's saying, I'm Revelation, the heir to Apocalypse. Apocalypse is out of the picture. Xavier's out of the picture. Basically, they're two dads. He equates them to. He says the world is ours now, and Cyclops doesn't look very happy about that. I do like that panel. Kind of encapsulates Cyclops at this point. And so Doug clearly wanting to take over and impose his own will on the team here. He's trying to convince Cyclops that they need to take their ideas, Apocalypse and Xavier's, evolve them and make them better. And so all the X-Men decide that they're going to vote on whether they can join the X-Men, Ramsey, Bay, and Warlock. And I do love pages like this where we get all the faces of all the team members here and we get a vote. Almost kind of a throwback to Krakoa, which gets brought up multiple times in this book. Krakoa does. This whole From the Ashes series felt like just a Krakoan hangover. So we finally get the big moment here where Doug is about to shake Cyclops' hand as he joins the X-Men. We get the little callback to Welcome to the X-Men. Hope you survived the experience here, which got first used when Kitty Pryde joined the X-Men and has been used over and over and over again ever since. So kind of a meta meta moment there. But right when they're about to shake hands, there's this giant psychic shock that goes to Cyclops' head here, and even Kid Omega, he says, it's not a telepathic attack. It's like his whole brain is out of phase. And Temper says, what does that mean? And he goes, I don't even know. And we get a really cool splash page here at the end with Cyclops just losing his mind, and we see the Age of Revelation, Cyclops here up above him. So I like this issue. It set up everything. There's the big moment at the end, which is important. As an actual issue, though, it just kind of felt like the second half of an issue, if that makes any sense. With just the whole issue just seemed to be like every scene was just the X-Men kind of at odds with each other until the big moment at the end. So it did have that kind of theme going through it, though, of just these two sides of the X-Men at odds, which is clearly what's going to be coming into play here with the Amazing X-Men books. So if you're a big fan of the X-Men, if you're going to be reading the Age of Revelation, I would recommend definitely picking this issue up. Otherwise, though, not anything you need to go out of your way to read or anything like that. But I'm sad to see, it looks like Ryan Stegman's probably leaving the main X-Men book after the Age of Revelation. So that's unfortunate, but it looks like Jed MacKay, I think, is still writing. So we'll see how it goes. Then we got the Shadows of Tomorrow that follows that. And don't forget, I've been reviewing the Review the Age of Apocalypse. You can go back a couple months on my channel and see all those videos where I've been doing all the single issues of the original Age of Apocalypse. I'm going to continue that as well coming up this week. And I'll also have reviews of these Age of Revelation books coming out here this week as well. So thanks again for watching. Please subscribe if you've made it this far. And go read comics.